Welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning, where we help prepare folks for labor and birth with expertise coming from 20 years of experience in a busy doula practice, helping thousands of people prepare for labor, providing essential knowledge and tools for positive and empowering birth experiences.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast. This is Angie Rozier and I have a very special guest with me here today. Her name is Hakima Payne. She is the founder and former CEO of Uzazi Village, which is located in Kansas City, Missouri. And I know Hakima as so many things to me, dear friend and mentor, and so fortunate to have her here with us today. So Hakima, will you further the introduction a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Well, thank you, Angie. I'm delighted to be a part of your show. Thank you for the invitation. For those who are unfamiliar with Uzazi Village, it is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3 that's focused primarily on Black maternal health, maternal and infant health, and at various times we had a doula agency. We've always done doula training. The organization currently has a prenatal clinic and primary health care clinic, and we've provided a number of services to our Black urban community there in Kansas City, such as a breastfeeding clinic, diaper distributions, breast milk exchanges, just so many other services over the years, childbirth education, and so we did quite a bit of work around Black maternal health and the subsequent researching of our work and our outcomes that went with it. So it started out as primarily doula work and mushroomed into so much more because then you had to work with state legislatures, get laws passed. You had to work with state regulators to get regulations updated. We worked for several years to get our doulas in the state of Missouri reimbursed by Medicaid, and that finally occurred. And even now we're currently working on legislation to update our birth center regulations in the state because the organization would like to be involved in starting an urban birth center. So we pioneered training men doulas to work with other fathers and work with researchers across the country who were doing work that was specific to Black maternal and infant health issues. So we've had a broad swath of involvement in a lot of issues related to Black maternal and infant health.
It sounds like over time, your projects have grown and grown.
And continue to do so, even though I am now retired. I've been retired from Uzazi Village for a year now. But look back with great pride on the work that we did then, and that's continuing to go on now.
Yeah. So looking back over your career, which has had many facets to it, what are some of your lessons learned? Looking back, what are some of the top lessons that you have learned in time?
Well, there's so many. I started out first as a childbearing person myself. So I have 9 children of my own, 6 home births and 3 hospital births. In the reverse order, had the 3 hospital births first, and then the last 6 were born at home. From that work, I became a doula, and later became a doula trainer, but also went to nursing school, became a labor and delivery nurse, had a career in labor and delivery. From there, got my master's in nursing education and taught labor and delivery nursing for a time, and then left nursing to start my nonprofit about 14 years ago, and did that work up until last December. So I've had quite a variety of experiences in maternal and infant health, with many lessons learned.
You've worn many hats. So.
Worn many hats. I would say it's important that each person find their area of passion and then just keep working away, because progress is made bit by bit. And there's so much about our maternity care system, our healthcare system in general, that needs to evolve and improve.
What changes have you seen in the last few decades? What are some of your favorite changes, and what are some negative, perhaps negative changes?
Yeah, there have been both, because that's the thing about life. You'll see the pendulum swing one way, but if you keep on living long enough, you'll see it swing back, and that's not always fun to watch.
Yeah,
I do think that for certain, the work that I've done and many others in this field have done have had an impact on the role of the doula, that now doulas are much more commonly known and understood. I think people still mix up the doula role with the midwife role,
yes, true.
but people do know the word doula, and that was not true when I started this.
So you kind of got to see the rise of doulas as a profession.
Yes, I worked as a doula before we barely had the word doula.
Wow.
And so the rise of doulas, seeing doulas get paid through Medicaid and private insurance, there was definitely a time we thought we'd never see that. And it is now a lived reality. I do believe all 50 states will eventually be reimbursing doulas. I've also seen breastfeeding become more commonplace. I've seen breastfeeding numbers rise. I've seen the use of birth centers and other out-of-hospital birth places become more common. So there have been some really positive changes. I'm still surprised that medical establishment still struggles with VBACs.
Yeah.
They still are kind of poo-pooed in some places, outlawed in others.
Yeah.
And that the C-section rate has stayed stubbornly high.
With all our other pieces of progress, we haven't budged that one much.
No, we haven't. So there, and inductions have become much more ubiquitous. So they're so commonplace, nobody even bats an eye. People don't stop to question, wait a minute, what's the medical reason I'm being offered this procedure? So there's a lot that has changed, and there's a lot that hasn't, that has stayed the same or even gotten worse.
For the things that have changed in good ways, what do you think the drivers are for that? Is it people? Is it policy? Is it...
Well, I think people drive policy,
right.
And there has to be persistent pressure applied. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes the difference if you keep an issue in the limelight. I mean, sometimes things happen that you can't account for that may push an issue over the line, but that positive, persistent pressure for change needs to be expressed. I don't think systems change without provocation.
Do you think it's people having babies that push that change? Because so many come into it, it's new to them, they don't know the history, like, or is it other workers in the field that are more familiar with the field that kind of push for change?
I think it's both. Certainly you need your advocates, and if it's your calling to be an advocate, you pick your issue and you stay on it, and that persistent pressure. But sometimes change comes because of huge consumer shifts and their desires and what they want in their care. And that can be a real driving force too. I was around when LDRPs were a thing, if you remember the LDRP movement. When I gave birth for the first time back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, they moved you from a labor room and then into a delivery room and then into a recovery room and then into a postpartum room.
Wow.
And so you just got moved from room to room. Each room was the size of a closet. You got moved from one closet-sized room to the next for each phase of the experience. And it was really consumer demand that drove the movement toward what they called at the time family-centered care, where they began to build the big suites, and all of that took place in one room instead of being moved from room to room, from unit to unit. It all happened in one room. That was driven by consumer demand.
That makes sense. Can you think of anything else, whether world event or societal shifting, that made changes from the consumer side?
Well, I think that the whole issue that Uzazi Village stands behind, which is the issue of Black maternal health, that is an issue that really began to get more attention, more policy change, and therefore more funding, more from advocates, but also a few key nationally exposed cases, like Serena Williams.
So some media events have helped.
So and events like that, again, you can't plan them, you don't know they're coming, but they can be huge drivers for change. And I don't know that changed anything, but it gave a lot of exposure,
awareness
to the disparities in Black maternal health.
Which it seems for a time was getting a lot of good attention.
It was becoming well funded, getting lots of media attention. Communities were becoming more aware that there were disparities in Black maternal health, because you can't solve a problem that you don't know exists. So that awareness, it's a first step, but it's a critical step. And there were definitely some media events that gave national attention to the issue as a whole. And things like that can be very helpful. You just don't know when or where they're coming from.
And have you sensed some good change? People like yourself who do a lot of hard work. What else has moved the needle on Black maternal health?
I don't think the needle has moved on Black maternal health. In fact, I think that's one of the areas where it's going backwards.
Yeah, right now.
Where the rates are actually worse than when we started.
Yeah.
I remember back in 2012, 2013, there were lots of conversations about this and more careful attention paid, more data gathered, and now the data that we're seeing now is the numbers are actually getting worse again.
And part of that's due to our current, probably our
current
political
administration, because yes, they are removing attention from issues that might be racially or even sociologically driven, and so sadly that's to the detriment of outcomes and communities that are being affected. There's more awareness, but awareness alone doesn't make for improvements.
There has to be some action behind.
Absolutely. There must be policy change. There has to be changes in the way funds are distributed. Attention has to be paid to regulatory agencies that oversee health outcomes. And all of that takes money, so funding has to be shifted. And so there's real systemic changes that have to be made to really improve health outcomes. So consumers can demand it, but also systems have to make a space for solutions to occur.
It's kind of a multifaceted solution, has to come from several directions.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's not often that you see all of that work together to create the needed change. But changes have happened. Positive movement has been made. Like I said, some things have improved, others have stayed doggedly the same, and other things have gotten worse.
So looking forward into the future, and I know your work, a lot of your maternal health work is done in as you shift gears a little bit at this time in your life, but recommendations for those in the maternal space, especially maternal health disparities, what recommendations can you see that would be beneficial from a multifaceted approach?
Well, I do believe that research is important. I'm a data person myself. I believe health outcomes is equal parts arts and science. And we can't neglect the science part of health. I do think we need to be very careful about counting and about how we count. Some of the movements that I hear about now want to ignore collecting data by race, but I think that's incredibly dangerous to do that. It's easy to hide the disparities that happen in neglected communities in greater data sets. So if you don't break your data out by race, you may not even see the problem. The data may not even show you the problem. So I continue to be an advocate for good data collection, for understanding how important it is to define and to count properly so that we actually see problems as they are occurring. But even when we've got good data, we need to follow that up with productive policy. And policy can take a long time to change, but policy is driven by data. And
Right,
it can
they
take
go
a
together.
long time to collect data. It can take decades to collect data and then another decade more to shift policy. And then once policy is shifted, then again you have to make sure that the resources are placed in the right place to continue the progress. So change can come. It's often generational when you're talking about change on the scale of systems. But of course, in the meantime, individuals can create change for themselves that can be impactful for them. So an individual could choose to explore dietary changes, can become more selective about their care provider, maybe choose midwifery care if they qualify for it. They could hire a doula. They could choose a hospital or a birth center or a home birth for their place of delivery where they think will be most consistent with their birth plan. So there are also things individuals can do to improve their course of care and maybe improve their health outcomes. But I'm typically working on the scale of systems, which can be much harder to shift.
Right. Systems are big ships that are hard to make change with.
Yes.
So I love what you talked about what individuals can do, and exploring their options is definitely one.
Knowing that they have options.
Exactly. It's key. How about on a doula level, what could a doula do to improve some of these outcomes and create this system-wide change? How can doulas do that?
So I believe firmly that doulas should be lifelong learners.
Mm-hmm.
I know when doulas are new, when they're new to the profession, they lean a lot on their own personal experience, but you really want to move beyond that because your own personal experience is very, very limited.
Mm-hmm.
So keep learning, keep growing. That way you can better educate your clients and better serve your clients the more you know. So make sure that you're well educated about the particular institutions in your community, that you know what the resources are available in your community so that you can steer your clients to whatever's a better fit for them. If there's a birth center in your community, go visit it. Go meet the midwives who work there. And same for the hospitals in your community. If you have hospitals that do maternity care in your community, go visit them. Go do the tours. Take a class at your local community college on physiology, that you understand how birth occurs and all your body parts. So I think doulas play a fantastic role, a great role in positive health outcomes, but that can also vary doula by doula. So
True.
Keep educating yourself, keep learning more so that you can pass that learning on to your clients, because clients, if they don't know their options, then they don't have any.
Mm-hmm. How about, because you have worked in this role, maybe this is a tricky question, how can nurses make positive change? They're deeper in the system.
Nurses are deeper in the system, but I also see nurses as your friend on the inside.
Yeah.
Nurses are empathetic and their job is to care. They are a trusted healthcare professional, But so despite them being embedded in an imperfect system, I think your nurse may be your best hope for an empowered birth. So I think both those things can be true at the same time. My caution to nurses working within systems is to be aware of their own biases. I still highly recommend anti-racism training for all healthcare providers, and so that they're serving each community according to their specific needs. And typically nurses have the education, they have the knowledge, they're the experts, and they know what they're doing. They know how birth works, they understand how the body works. It's the cultural awareness piece that may be lacking for nurses.
Mm-hmm.
If they're serving community members from communities that aren't their own.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I see that a lot in hospitals that I work in, where assumptions are made that are not accurate and can be dangerous by sometimes nurse level, for sure, by how they care for patients. So I like that. How about next level providers, in-network providers or providers at hospital? Outside of hospital, easy to make change. Because you're out of the system.
Maybe easier.
Yeah.
But I would say, you use the word bias, I would definitely say that applies to providers. Providers, I tend to see them as more biased only because providers tend to be embedded in a particular environment, and they get comfortable in that environment, and they don't understand the benefits or barriers of other types of birth environments.
And it's a pretty limited environment, right?
You might see it that way, yes. The options for how they perform their duties can be narrow and prescribed. So I would say providers embedded in hospitals don't have a really good understanding of birth outside the hospital. I don't know that it necessarily works the other way around. Usually providers who work outside the hospital have had previous experience inside the hospital, but it doesn't work the other way around. So I would invite them to learn more, because they often are leaning on biases when it comes to understanding why someone might choose a home birth, or why having a doula might be so important to a client, or how a community-based midwife is educated and what his or her competencies might be. A provider inside the hospital may not have a good understanding of those things.
And providers, it seems, might have a little bit more power in the system than like nurses, right? Would you say? You
would think.
Yeah.
I think that's actually shifting. I think as more and more physicians work for hospitals, they have less and less say. So, it's a different model from what it used to be in the start of my career, when physicians formed their own practices outside the hospital and then sought privileges. That definitely still exists today, but you see more and more become employees of the hospital
system,
and which makes them more rule bound. So they may not have as much power as you might assume to alter things or bend the rules.
To make changes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So tell me.
And the insurance industry has shifted that a lot too.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, the insurance industry is kind of the devil incarnate when it comes to healthcare. I don't think that industry has added to healthier outcomes, but it certainly has added more regulation, more restrictions. They absolutely have a lot of control over how money gets spent. I think they're the bane of providers. I think they're the bane of institutions.
Yeah,
and
patients.
I think they're the bane of healthcare consumers.
Yeah.
So their shadow looms large over healthcare, and I don't know that they provide a level of benefit commensurate with their presence in healthcare.
I can see that. Absolutely. Yeah, they're a powerful entity that
mostly benefits itself.
Yes, makes a lot of decisions for us, unfortunately.
Yes, and so a lot of that freedom that you think providers have to make clinical choices is oftentimes overridden.
Their hands are tied
By insurance-related issues, yes.
Interesting. So how would, if you were to provide care or a program of care for a pregnant person, what would be and everyone will be a little bit different obviously, but if we could in general speak to what would be available, what do you wish every pregnant person had available to them?
I wish, and this really hasn't changed, my answer to this is a 30-year-old answer because it's the same way I've always thought, that they would have individualized community embedded care so that they could find the provider of their choice where they live in their own communities, that they could seek prenatal care of their choosing in their own communities, that they could be provided by, cared for by those who were either members of their community or had been educated in the cultures of their communities. But I believe in community embedded care. I think for me that's a high hallmark, that people don't have to leave their communities and don't have to be subject to cultural norms that are foreign to their own when it comes to birth care.
And a lot of the work you did with Uzazi Village helped provide that.
That's exactly the model I followed, because it's the model I believed in then and the model I still believe in. We created the Ida Mae Patterson Center for Maternal and Infant Wellness, so we call it Ida Mae Center for short. Ida Mae was my grandmother, named the clinic after her. But it is absolutely a community embedded model of prenatal care. The clinic is in the community, in the Black community of Kansas City where Black folks live. It's accessible by bus. The providers are Black and brown people themselves. They can get midwifery care, can be assigned a doula, can see a chiropractor and a lactation consultant and an herbalist, and just sort of get one-stop shopping. All their cultural ways are going to be respected and embedded in the way that clinical care is provided. And so there's going to be a lot of familiarity, even down to details like the music that they hear.
Yeah.
It's the same music they hear when they're in their homes.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in community embedded models of care.
You put the power with the people, kind of.
Yes.
Very cool.
So that people feel at ease, because entering the healthcare system is entering a foreign environment anyway. and it's not an environment that African Americans are completely trustworthy of. So we set as a goal to create an environment in which Black childbearing individuals felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no small feat.
Which does go down to the details as far as
it absolutely
everything
does.
In the room and
yes.
the food that you eat and the
food
care
that
you
was
get, the
served,
people that care.
The pictures on the wall.
Yeah, the art,
the design of the rooms, yes.
Where
everything, the aesthetics, all of it.
Yeah, a lot of our systems overlook some of those details for community groups. And
because we were a small, private, albeit nonprofit clinic, we could do things differently. So when I was CEO, our employees could bring their infants to work with them for the first 2 years.
Cool. So
when our clients entered the Ida Mae Patterson Center, the first person they saw was Nadira, our office manager, sitting at her desk by the front door with her baby
living her baby life
on her back.
Yeah.
Because she wore her baby. And that image alone, you walk in, you're greeted by a woman carrying her baby on her back and who's an employee. That just gives you a whole different view of the place.
Mm-hmm. A sense of comfort.
Yes, familiarity.
Yeah. Very amazing. Well, Hakima, as we wrap up our session, any final thoughts you want to leave of what we've talked about, of lessons you've learned over your time as you look back on your career and the amazing work you have done?
Well, I'm excited for the work that I've done, but there's still so much more to be done. And so I just want to inspire the birth workers who are out there listening to this, no matter where you are geographically, no matter what community or family types you're serving, whether it's minority communities, LGBTQ families, rural families, suburban families, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I want to inspire you that your work is needed.
Mm.
These issues are getting less and less play in the media, and they've become a lesser part of the public discourse. But babies keep on being born.
Keeps happening.
These issues are just as pertinent as they always were, and I've definitely seen a shift in the public discourse around maternity care. But this isn't the time to slow down. We've made positive change. There's been some momentum, and even though the attention that's given to these issues has shifted, the importance of the work has not. So I would just encourage your birth workers out there, wherever they are, whomever they're serving, the importance of this work, and to keep going, keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Keep the conversations coming.
Keep the conversation going.
Keep talking about it. Keep striving towards improvement.
For sure.
Which there's a lot to do. So.
It's important as it always was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, Hakima, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Again, thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be a part of your podcast, and thank you for letting me have some time to have my say.
Oh, appreciate it. Your words are valuable to me and to many, many others. So we want to wrap up our episode of this episode of our podcast with Hakima Payne. It's been wonderful to talk to her, and as always, we encourage you to go out and make a human connection. Our human connections are important, so reach out to someone you know or someone you don't and make someone's life a little better today. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Ordinary Doula podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning. Episode credits will be in the show notes. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many aspects of giving birth.